The NBA is changing faster than anyone wants to admit. Not the rules, not the jerseys, not even the highlight reels. The very DNA of who plays in this league, who controls it, and how the game is officiated has shifted in the last decade. A father-son pipeline that didn't exist before. Stars who now move the league instead of the league moving them. Flopping turned into a legitimate offensive strategy. And a sister league quietly fighting the same identity crisis. This isn't a doom video. It's a closer look at what's actually happening, beat by beat, and why the most popular basketball league in the world feels different than it did even 10 years ago. Start with the demographics, because the league's makeup tells the first part of the story. In the 1980s, the NBA was overwhelmingly American, mostly drawn from urban playgrounds and college programs. By the early 2000s, that pipeline cracked open. Dirk, Yao, Paul, Parker. The international wave wasn't a trend, it was a takeover. Today, more than a quarter of the league is foreign-born, and the last 7 MVPs have been international players. Meanwhile, the American side of the pipeline narrowed. AAU circuits, private trainers, and elite academies replaced the corner court. Basketball became expensive, access shrank, and the kids most likely to make it suddenly looked very different from the kids who made it before. Which brings us to the second shift, the one fans argue about the loudest. Nepotism. Not in a conspiratorial sense, but in a measurable one. The NBA has more second-generation players than at any point in its history. Sons of former pros, nephews of all-stars, kids who grew up inside locker rooms. They had personal coaching from age 4. They had genetics, exposure, and a built-in network. Some earned every minute they got, others were drafted on a last name. And that mix is exactly why the conversation is so messy. Because for every Klay Thompson or Steph Curry, there's a roster spot that feels less like a meritocracy and more like an inheritance. The Curry legacy is the clearest example of how this works at its best. Del Curry was a 16-year NBA shooter. His sons Steph and Seth grew up on team flights, in shoot-arounds around Hall of Famers casually offering pointers. Steph wasn't gifted height or freakish athleticism. What he had was almost unlimited access. A gym in his backyard, mentors on call, and a father who knew exactly what shooting mechanics scouts look for. Steph still had to work obsessively to become the greatest shooter ever. Nobody is denying that. But pretending his path looked anything like a random kid from Akron or Compton is rewriting history. The Curry story is real. It's also a privileged story. The LeBron legacy works differently. LeBron came from nothing, raised by a single mother, no NBA father opening doors. He's the counter-argument to the nepotism conversation. But then his son Bronny entered the league, drafted by the Lakers on the same roster after a polarizing college season and a serious cardiac scare. Whether he belonged on an NBA floor became one of the loudest debates of the decade. And LeBron, the most powerful player in league history, openly stated he wanted to play with his son. The league made it happen. That's not corruption, that's leverage. And it's a preview of how the next generation of stars will use theirs. And the second generation list is longer than people realize. Klay Thompson, son of Michael; Devin Booker, son of Melvin; Kobe was Joe Bryant's kid; Tim Hardaway Jr., Gary Payton Sicken; Andrew Wiggins is the son of Mitchell Wiggins and an Olympic sprinter; Jaren Jackson Jr., Jabari Smith Jr., Scottie Pippen Jr., Shareef O'Neal got looks, the Wagners, the Antetokounmpos play together. Even Austin Rivers spent years on rosters partly because Doc Rivers coached half the league. This isn't a scandal, it's a pattern. The NBA has become a family business at the top, and the gap between the kids who grew up inside the league and the kids trying to break in from outside keeps growing wider every season. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable for the league office. The NBA spent decades building stars, marketing them, protecting them, building rules around their comfort. And it worked. Basketball became personality-driven in a way no other team sport is. But that strategy has a cost. The stars now have more leverage than the league itself. Trade demands work. Load management happens whether the league likes it or not. Players pick their coaches, sometimes their teammates. Adam Silver is one of the smartest commissioners in sports, and even he is constantly negotiating with his own product. The NBA didn't lose control overnight. It handed control over piece by piece, because every piece sold more jerseys. It's a genuine double-edged sword. Star power drives revenue, ratings, social media, global expansion, but star power also drives player empowerment, which drives chaos in the standings, which drives casual fans crazy. A team builds for 3 years, and one phone call from a superstar's agent erases the plan. Small markets watch their best players walk to LA or New York the moment they qualify for a max contract. The league benefits from drama and suffers from the instability at the same time. Every move that made the NBA a global brand also made it harder for the league to be a stable competition. You can't have one without the other. And this is exactly why the WNBA is in a strange parallel struggle. The WNBA is finally getting attention, finally seeing real ratings, finally producing household names like Caitlin Clark, Aja Wilson, Angel Reese. But the moment its stars became big enough to move the needle, the same tension appeared. Players want better travel, bigger salaries, more control over their schedules. The league needs that growth, but can't fund the demands fast enough. Established veterans clash with the new wave of attention. Officiating becomes a flashpoint because every call involving a marketable rookie becomes a national debate. Sound familiar? The WNBA is going through, in fast forward, the same growing pains the NBA spent 40 years navigating. And then there's the thing fans hate most: flopping. It used to be a Eurostep stereotype, the thing Vlad Divac got mocked for in the early 2000s. Now it's a primary offensive weapon. James Harden built an entire MVP case out of kicking his legs into defenders, hooking arms, hunting whistles. He turned the free throw line into a personal income stream. Defenders had to relearn how to guard him without fouling out by the third quarter. The league quietly adjusted rules to limit it, and Harden's offense dropped almost immediately. That's not a coincidence. It's evidence that an entire skill set was built around exploiting officiating rather than actually beating defenders. Then SGA took the blueprint and refined it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is genuinely one of the most skilled scorers in the league. His footwork is elite, his mid-range is automatic, his patience is unreal. But he also leads the league in free throw attempts most nights because he's mastered the art of initiating contact, falling away, and selling the call. It's not cheating, it's working within the rules as written. And that's the problem. The rules reward it. So every young guard now studies that film. The next generation of scorers isn't learning how to finish through contact, they're learning how to manufacture it. The art of the foul is replacing the art of the bucket. And the league knows this is a problem. Ratings dip when games feel like free throw contests. Casual fans don't tune in to watch someone shoot 18 foul shots. The product gets harder to defend, literally and figuratively. The NBA has tweaked rules multiple times in the last 5 years to discourage the worst flopping, even adding technical fouls for blatant ones. But once a generation of players has built their game around it, you can't legislate it out in one off-season. You're asking guys to unlearn the thing that made them millionaires. It's a slow correction, and it's going to take years before the on-court product reflects it. Step back and the bigger picture is clear. The NBA is being pulled in 3 directions at once. International talent is rising, while American grassroots basketball gets more expensive and exclusive. Second-generation players dominate the top of the draft, while undiscovered kids struggle to even get seen. And the stars who do break through have more individual power than any commissioner can match. Every one of these trends started as a positive. International scouting expanded the talent pool. Player empowerment gave athletes the rights they deserved. Family pipelines produced incredible players. But added up, they've created a league that looks less like the open meritocracy fans grew up with, and more like an industry with gatekeepers at every door. None of this means the NBA is dying. Ratings are actually fine, global revenue is at record highs, and the new media deal is worth $76 billion. The league is rich, But rich and healthy aren't the same thing. A league can be financially booming while losing the connection that made it special. Kids in the 80s wanted to be like Mike because Mike felt accessible, even though he wasn't. Kids today watch stars they admire but can't quite see themselves in, because the path looks paved differently now. That emotional gap is the part the NBA can't fix with a TV deal, and it's the part that will define the next decade. So what's actually happening to the NBA? It's not collapsing. It's transforming fast and not always in the directions fans want. Demographics are shifting, family legacies are stacking up, stars hold the leverage, flopping is a tactic, not a law. The WNBA is sprinting through the same gauntlet. The product is louder, richer, and more global than ever, but also more controlled by fewer hands. If you love this league, the honest move isn't to defend it blindly or trash it on social media. It's to watch it clearly. Notice the patterns. Hold it accountable. Because the next era of basketball is being written right now, and the audience still gets a vote. If this breakdown made you think, subscribe and stick around for more.